Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Oh, it's been a week for sure, but eternal optimist. The sun will come out tomorrow. That's what Annie always says. So just good vibes and some good news would be great this week. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. As I said earlier today on Boom Show, I may have broke my foot. That's lovely. Do you know what I hate about injuries? I want a really cool story from them, right? I would like it if I have to have an injury, it has to be because I've done something cool. Maybe I don't know, gone bungee jumping and I landed wrong. I don't know how you exactly land from a bungee jump, but I'm guessing they lower you to the ground or pull you up. But I may have broke my foot by stepping off a curb wrong, and it's like that's the least cool story you can get from an injury. Um, I split my head open a while back. I can't say the whole story on this channel. At least I don't think I can. But that I got a fun story out of that, and broken foot off a curb. I mean, who would have thought that's a thing? But other than that, everything's been fine this past week. Lots of gaming news, lots of gaming. Um, the weather here is absolutely scorching. It's so unbearable. We aren't built for heat. Unfortunately, our houses are. That's why we complain non-stop. Um, it's unbearable here. So for the next, I want to say 3 weeks to a month, if you tune into the podcast and you hear me melt, you'll know why. Because my God in heaven, it's hot. But anyway, it's been a long week. What have you been playing, Logan?
I've been playing Pragmata. Been really enjoying that.
Nice.
Um, just good vibes and dad space, and been playing that. Been playing Power Wash Them 2 as always as the default podcast or music game. Been also picked up all of the Elder Gods on Game Pass. Been playing through that. It's the sequel to Call of the Sea, which
Oh yeah.
I highly recommend if you haven't played it to play that game. It is like a fantastic puzzle walking sim narrative mixed with Cthulhu and like old like 1920s 30s exploration era vibes. It's just really really cool, something out of left field. And the sequel it does take into account your decision you make at the end of the first one. Like it lets you choose at some point in the game, kind of like in The Witcher, where it let you have a conversation
Oh yeah.
to choose how some events happened. Like basically, you can say what your choice was in the first game, and then the storyline and some other stuff going forward will carry out um, to align itself with your decision that you made. And so I'm really interested to see how it turns out this way, and then play it again with me having chosen the other thing to see how much changes. But so far I'm really enjoying it. There's two protagonists. There's this new girl. She's a student at a university. She's really smart and bubbly, and she has these visions like the main protagonist from the first one, about this statuette and this island and elder gods and things that aren't of earth. And then the husband of the main protagonist from the first one is in this, and he's a professor at her university. They end up in cahoots with each other, and they go out on an adventure together to figure out more about this elder god situation. So, really enjoying it. It's on Game Pass. Highly recommend it. How about you, man? What you been playing?
Just a couple of games, you know. I'll keep my Arc Raiders talk fairly brief because I've lost way too much money in that game. uh, so been going out with free loadouts, and if people know, free loadouts in that game are terrible. You get given the worst items, and you get put in like 17 minutes of the match left because each match lasts 30 minutes. But other than that, I've been playing Forza Horizon 6. That game is so good. Driving around, listening to music. The funny thing is the game's jam packed with different activities to do, not just races, but there's like you can like deliver like food, kind of like Crazy Taxi style in a way. Like there's so much to do, but yet I actually just enjoy driving around listening to music. You don't actually accomplish much doing that, but I think it's like just an experience in itself. And I loved Forza Horizon 3, the Australian setting. I think that might have been my favorite setting up until now. I think Japan is perfect. You have these super long stretches of road that you can just blast down at like 200 mile an hour. It's incredible. Because my big problem with Forza Horizon 5 is that I felt like there wasn't too many straight roads where you could do that. That's just how I feel anyway. But man, Forza Horizon 6, they knocked it out of the park. Playground Games, I mean, they know what they're doing. They've been making these racing games for years. But something that did surprise us is I've been keeping away from the full track list for the game, and I was pleasantly surprised to discover that I thought there was maybe like 1 or 2 synthwave songs in this game. There's a whole radio station dedicated to that. So that ticks another box for things I like. So driving around Tokyo with the neon lights, listening to synthwave at 2 in the morning, my God, that is a good game.
It's a vibe.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. And if people haven't listened to synthwave yet, my God, that is driving music. But other than that, I've been playing a lot of Crimson Desert. Now, this is the segment I like to call Jamie Gushes About Crimson Desert for 5 minutes, because that game is Game of the Year material. People keep telling me it's their Game of the Year, and obviously there's a ton of different titles coming this year, which could easily take that spot for people, but man, that game is special. I'm really happy I waited to do the or at least wait to play it for the updates, because like one of my big complaints before the game came out was like the camera seemed a bit too far away from the main character. That's not a problem now. You can actually set the exact distance and angle you want for the camera. I can't speak today. The character's camera, and it's good. I feel like we get so many open world games these days, and I feel like once every so often you get this shining beacon. Oh yeah, for people just getting to the podcast right now, I had to reset every setting right before we went live, so notifications will start to be going out to people, so bear with me, we're just getting the show started. But we get open world games all the time, and I feel like once every so often we get this absolute gem that just stands out. An Elden Ring, Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption 2, Fallout 4. I feel like this game's up there. Like, this game has an incredible open world. It all feels lived in. I feel like a big problem with a lot of modern open world games is that you just have this vast openness with nobody really doing anything. And, that's one of the biggest compliments for Red Dead Redemption 2 is that no matter where you go in that world, there's wildlife doing their own thing, there's people passing by. Honestly, this is fantasy Red Dead Redemption 2. There's horses, there's dragons. Haven't seen a dragon yet, but I'll get into that in a bit. But there's just so much to do. And look, I've said this before on the channel many times that when I play a role-playing game, and yes, I know it's not an RPG, but bear with me. When I play an RPG, I hoard skill points. I don't know why I do this, right? I always feel like, if I get to the end of the game and I need to do something, I better have as many skill points as possible. And then when the credits roll, I always think, oh yeah, so I artificially made the game more difficult for myself, right? And I do this all the time, and I've been doing this for 2 decades now, right? I made Deus Ex Human Revolution 10 times more difficult for me because I did that exact same thing. So with this, I've been hoarding skill points. And anyway, I was walking to a destination yesterday to just do a side quest, and this guy that was standing on this path just waved me over and said, "I need to speak to you for a minute." And I went up to him, and he started talking to us, and he just like passed me this note, and then walked off very mysteriously. And I think it was called the Mysterious Letter. So I went into my inventory, I opened it up, and I read it, and it was reminding me to spend my skill points.
He told you quit being daft.
Yeah, and I just burst out laughing. It's like the developers clearly got this, like, the vibe they were going for. And this has happened like a bunch of different times with different things. Like, you'll be in your tent sorting out through your like inventory and stuff, and a pigeon will land on your shoulder and deliver you a note, right? Just out of the blue, and it's like a new gameplay mechanic. And I absolutely love the game. And people joke about how like they spend in hundreds of hours and they only in the first region, because the game's mainly made of like 2 huge regions, and each region's split up into like 100 smaller regions. But man, like I've put maybe close to 40 hours into it, because I only got it about a week and a half ago or whatever, and it is incredible. It's amazing. Just fast travel takes seconds, and you don't even want to do fast travel because the game's so gorgeous, and you discover so many different things going to each location, even if you're backtracking. Quest design is very good. It's just a very well done game. And you've asked me before, Logan, about the whole main quest thing. I honestly don't really have any big gripes about the main quest. When you're playing a big game with dragons and knights and stuff, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and think, it is going to be a bit, goofy at the end of the day, even if they are trying to be epic. But when you play this game, you play for the side quests and the faction quests. And, I always put off the main missions of a game like this, and I try and rinse through all the side quests before I get into the main missions. A lot of people do that. Well, anyway, I got curious as to how many different side quests there are. I think there's about 448 side quests.
That's impressive.
Yeah, crazy. And each set of side quests is basically split up into different faction quests. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. In a game like this, I was worried that, it having so many different gameplay mechanics, it would actually put me off. And it's the complete opposite. Each gameplay mechanic, you kind of just discover by yourself. So, for instance, I was low on health and I was really needing some potions, but there's no potions in the game. You basically heal off cooking food. And I was nowhere near a cooking pot. So anyway, there's a mechanic in the game where you can shine the light of the sun off your sword and basically like burn vines and stuff. And I was thinking, can I cook food with this? So I dropped food from my inventory and shined light from my sword onto the food, and I cooked it. And I thought, these developers thought of everything. And it does have a little tiny bit of jank to it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I don't care. The game looks good. It plays great. The weird controls people complained about at launch, they kind of still there, but you get past them straight away. If this isn't in the Game of the Year conversation, I'll be shocked, because it's so good. It's made by an MMO team. They constantly listening to feedback. They clearly know what they're doing. And, at the minute on screen, there's Ghost Recon Breakpoint footage, right? There was a feature in that game people wanted, right? People wanted the ability to throw an empty bullet casing to distract enemies, right? Or to lure them out. It took them 8 months to put that feature in the game, right? But in Crimson Desert, they putting in features people are requesting just days or weeks after asking. Like, this game's only been out for, 2 months? And they've put in, 100 plus new features that people have asked for. And I think you'll love this, Logan. So when you start the game, you have, I think it's roughly 40 inventory slots. But it doesn't stop there. You actually gain inventory slots by completing side quests. So, now I'm at, I think, 140 spaces for my inventory, and that doesn't include the chest you have where you can store stuff. But like it completely gets rid of the aspect of like when I play a game like this, I hoard a lot of stuff. And I can hoard as much as I want now, which is really cool. So the game really encourages you to do side quests because you just get a lot of benefits from them. But man, like I'm so impressed. It's incredible. Logan, you haven't started it yet, right?
Uh, Yeah, I haven't started it yet, but it's one I do want to pick up, especially since it is a play anywhere, so I can play it on the Ally X
Oh
or the
yeah,
console.
yeah. I mean, look. To be fair, the longer you put it off, you're gonna be getting more patches. You know. I'm so happy I waited till my birthday to play it because the camera patch. And man, like the funny thing is, before this game came out, there was lots of quote unquote concerning because this game's being made by an MMO developer. Like, does an MMO developer really know how to make a single player game? Yes, they really know how to make a single player game, and they know how to support that. And they've said they want to support the game way further out with more patches and even paid DLC at some point. And hey, I will buy it day one because my god, they've got such a great world. Different biomes. You got swamps. Like everything feels so lived in. Like I said before, but like one of the places you go to early in the game is this. It's kind of a camp that's run by goblins, but you can trade with them. There's a tiny little like pond that's like kind of a swamp at the same time. And I was thinking like in real life you'd have frogs and that type of thing in this area. So I walked over and I was low on meat. So I got out my boat and there there was salamanders, there was these weird looking creatures, I can't remember what they were called, and like frogs. And I just thought like, that's very accurate to that kind of area that you would have in real life. Even though it is a fantasy game. And by the way, since the latest patch, you can now have dragon pets in the game. So that's a thing now. I've put like 40 hours into the game, and I haven't seen a dragon yet. So, yeah. Wow. Like that studio, they knocked it out of the park. And obviously, it sounds like I'm gushing about this game a lot, glazing it. But honestly, like I complain about open world games all the time. All the time. And this game basically breaks the mold for me when it comes to like empty open worlds. It's just so refreshing.
And
Now,
for a fantasy game, you're actually liking it, and it feels fresh.
yeah, like honestly I whine a bit when it comes to like needing more sci-fi games and there being a bit of a overindulgence in the gaming industry when it comes to fantasy. This is that good. I'm kind of just past it as I'm playing it. Like, yeah, it has trolls, it has goblins, it has caves and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just great. And if a game can remind me of Red Dead Redemption 2, you've got yourself a good game there. And it kind of got me thinking, like, how the hell is this the first game since Red Dead Redemption 2 that's like Red Dead Redemption 2? Like, no other game like it, where you have this huge abundance of gameplay mechanics that are interconnected, that feel seamless, in a huge world that feels alive. I can't really think of any game like that. But yeah, if people are looking for a huge open world game, this will keep people busy for hours. Like, people have told me they've put like 300 hours in the game, and they haven't left the first region. Like,
That's impressive.
yeah, like I put it like this: the point where I am in the game, I've only seen one town. Like the first city, the first like small city you go to is called Hanand, and that's the first and only city I've been to. But man, so good, and those developers. Hey, I will. I would bet that we're gonna see a Crimson Desert 2 by them at some point. They made a lot of money through this game. It is set in the Black Desert online universe, but let's be honest. For all intents and purposes, for most people, it's a new IP. Like, brand new fantasy IP. People love it. And yeah, look, this game has part Zelda, part Skyrim, part Red Dead Redemption 2, part Witcher 3. And it doesn't feel like a mashup. in the sense that it just like feels like, hey, us developers, we like this, and we're gonna smash all these elements together. We like, no, it just feels good. It's a good, unique game. We have the first super chat of the day by Nick W. Thank you very much for the $4.99. He says, I think this year's game of the year will be insane. So many good games coming out this year. Yeah, look, normally when it comes to game of the year, I think there's a couple of standouts, but I think this year is going to be difficult. You have Resident Evil 9 that popped off. People absolutely love Pragmata, and it's different. Logan keeps calling it Dad Space. It's a positive game, which you don't really see much these days. And you have Crimson Desert. People actually absolutely adore that game. 007 is reviewing really well, thankfully. We've been needing a new Bond game for a long time. And then you have like the indie games, right? I think Replaced is incredible. I think everyone needs to play it. Then you have Mixtape, which I know is a bit of a weird topic for people, but that game reviewed really well. Obviously, you're going to have a bunch of other games this year that's going to do well, like The Blood of Dawnwalker. I think that's going to be another fantasy RPG that's going to really pop off really well. You have things like Grand Theft Auto 6, obviously, but like this year is nuts for games. And hell, we have to throw remakes in there as well. And will a remake win Game of the Year? I don't think so. But like you have Assassin's Creed 4 remake where they're listening to all the feedback, and partially, the developers are kind of trolling the fan base at the same time, which is hilarious. But like they've made an incredible game with that, and yeah, like I think 2026 is going to go down as one of the best years in gaming probably ever. Up there with 2010, in my opinion. Logan, what do you think? Because like this year is going to be tough because so many good games have came out already, and the next 6 months are stacked.
Yeah, this year's gonna be an old timer. I mean, it always makes me laugh when someone says there's nothing to play. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's like, have you been outside? Like, have you seen what's going on in the news and like all these other games that are being announced every day and shown, and it's nuts. Like Requiem is front runner for me right now
yeah,
of ones I've played personally. I'm really enjoying Pragmata. That might take it. I don't know. But and then I obviously haven't played Horizon 6 yet, so I reckon I'll enjoy that. And then Replaced is one I want to play. And then, Crimson Desert obviously is highly respected. Look forward to playing that. Mixtape, I I'm gonna go into it with open mind and see what I think. Maybe I really gel with it, and maybe part of me goes, you know what, this just wasn't my childhood, and it's just not me. But hey, I'll check it out. But yeah, overall, I don't think there's any complaints. There's not like one game that's out there that is like this and only this can win Game of the Year. Nothing else has a flying flip of a chance. Like it is truly wide open. And then we haven't even had Fable out or Gears
yeah,
or like I personally don't have high expectations for the Halo reboot, but maybe that truly is incredible and we just don't think about it. And then that comes out and is really good. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
yeah. Also occurred to us, back to the whole Forza Horizon thing. I love Forza Horizon 6. I think it may be the best one, just with the way the events work, the finally long stretches of road that's in this game. The soundtrack, I could talk about all day, but I think the gaming industry is very much against, hey, let's give a racing game of the year.
Yeah, I think over there cold, you know,
Yeah.
that's gonna happen. So
But, like, obviously, like, that'll probably win, best sports game or best sports and racing game. I think it's usually a combined category.
it'll
Um,
get a pat on the back.
yeah. Um, but hey, there's still tons of other games coming out this year, which we haven't really seen much of. You have a Plague Tale, Part 3. You have Control Resonant, which I have super high hopes for. I still think Alien Isolation 2 comes out this year. I will die on that hill. Um, just because of the way the developers mentioned. If that does come out this year, my god, like, like this year is looking great already. You have that new
It
game
better
by
be
Game,
October.
yeah, you have that new game by Game Freak, Beast of Reincarnation. Um, this year is going to be nuts. And oh yeah, you also have another remake by what do you call them, Atlas, which is Persona 4 Golden remake, Persona 4 Revival. That's meant to be out this year apparently. But yeah, I think Gears of War ED, I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on that game because, like, it's Gears of War. We haven't had one in a while, but, like, people have been wanting to see Emergence Day properly outside of flashbacks and stuff for a very long time. So, yeah, Game of the Year this year is going to be nuts. Um, I will say this, and we have talked about this before, Logan, how, like, Jeff Keighley Show and these other outlets, they really need to have a best remaster and remake category.
Yes, and a best horror
Yeah.
category. I don't know how they don't have that at this point.
You know what's funny? Like, the horror genre really popped off around when Outlast and Resident Evil 7 came out. And Jeff Keighley's Show still hasn't got that award. It's mind blowing.
It's asinine, like straight up. Like this is no longer a niche genre, buddy. Like this is mainstream. You have Resident Evil, for all intents and purposes is still survival horror at its core. There are some more action-oriented titles in the series, but it's survival horror. It's one of the biggest mainstream bought, played, talked about games out there. You can't continue to ignore that as a genre anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, hopefully he listens to feedback because I think some genres or some categories have been put in place because of feedback. But yeah, remakes and remasters in horror. There's probably some other ones in there. I always laugh at the ongoing live service category because, like, shouldn't technically by definition World of Warcraft win every year?
I mean, it's been around since PS2 for crying out
Yeah.
loud.
So, like, that's why I always laugh at that category. It's like, congrats to the developers that get these awards, but, like, World of Warcraft, you're not really beating that. But man, hey, look, honestly, I'd come up with another category: best open world game. We get so many, why not give them an award? I don't care. But yeah, let's see what we've got. Yeah, we have about 14, 15 topics today, so let's get into them. Now, Logan, we got some good news kind of by Embracer, because Embracer, a couple of years ago, we would go out on this channel and say, you know what, Embracer buying all these new IPs and stuff, all these old IPs, that's great for the industry. And then a year later, they start firing everyone. And, a new Deus Ex game has been cancelled like 3 times. Anyway, it turns out that Embracer actually want to work with other studios to actually get games made in these IPs. Now, as a Deus Ex fan, super fan, I kind of lost hope when they cancelled Deus Ex 3 for the 3rd time. I'll call it 3, even though it would be the 4th one. Because, my God, I can only take so much heartbreak. I've been broken up by Embracer 4 times now. I can't take it anymore. But anyway, they want to work with other studios and other publishers to make games. This is a good sign. Because as much as we crap on Embracer, rightly so, this is good news. Now, Logan, I know you were happy about this because they own a metric ton of IP, some of which you really like.
Yeah, I was really happy about this. Like you, I was initially bullish on Embracer and THQ Nordic.
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, these guys are buying up all this stuff. They have a plan. They're interested in bringing back some cool stuff. Like, heck yeah, let's go. I'm all for this." And then all these people get fired, and then all these studios shut down, and all these projects canceled and all these IPs that they bought just end up sitting on ice, and it's like, what was the point?
Yeah.
Were these people just with money that were just throwing it out there and didn't really know what they were doing with it? Or like did stuff fall through? And it ends up being just a combination of things. But yeah, I'm really excited, especially when you see the list in their financials statement that they put out the other day of IPs that they're particularly interested in bringing back. There's Deus Ex, which you have an affinity for, and then one in particular to me caught my eyes immediately was Time Splitters. They actually brought that name out again, and it has been a very, very long time since I've seen that name on the timeline. And I just I remember that they bought that IP and they brought back a bunch of the original team and stuff, and people were really excited. And then they quietly killed it off. And there's still a fan project I know. I can't remember what it's called, but that's like basically like recompiling a bunch of Time Splitter stuff.
Yeah.
But like as far as an official new Time Splitters, we haven't had one since, OG Xbox. So I would love it. For those who don't remember or weren't alive at that time point, it was like one of the true forefront multiplayer games and arcade shooters. And it had bots where you could play solo and just have these crazy cool death matches, infection, all kinds of stuff. And then there was these challenge modes where it's like, okay, beat it under this or beat it and finish by using this gun or this skill and unlock this random character. And they were just quirky and fun and campy, and the campaigns were great. And I truly think there is a place for time splitters in the modern era.
Oh
I
yeah.
really do. And especially you've got games like Fortnite or whatever where everybody upon everybody who's ever been a licensed character can show up in that. Even celebrities show up in it. So the idea of time splitters with all its random characters, like you got a calamari guy, you got a gargoyle, you got a cyborg, you got a cowboy, you got a 90s goth chick, you got all kinds of stuff. It's like all over the spectrum to where it would be perfect. And I truly hope it succeeds because I love time splitters.
Yeah, I mean they've kind of already started doing the working with external studios when they announced the Deus Ex remastered.
Hmm.
Now, funny thing is when that was announced back in I want to say January, I'm not even kidding. I was so excited. You know, the original Deus Ex finally remastered on modern consoles, and then at the end of the trailer it says Deus Ex remastered. At the bottom of the page it said by Aspire Games. like, I'm not,
Yeah, they got cooked with that presentation too.
yeah, and I'm
Ooh.
not even kidding. My hands just covered my face. I was like, no. Like you get Night Dive to do these games, right? Not Aspire. I mean, look, I've talked about this before. Aspire gave me a copy of uh, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 collection, right? Let me tell you, I was in the player pool of reviewers. That game was broken beyond belief. I can talk about this, but like that game was broken. There's no hit detection, and obviously, Deus Ex is a single player RPG. But my God, like they really have a lot of trust to gain back, and they have done good ports when it comes to remasters and stuff. Such as like the Tomb Raider games and Legacy of Kain. But as far as I know, a lot of that stuff was outsourced and done in house by Crystal Dynamics. But hey, if this means we're gonna get a new Soul Reaver game or a new, let's say, Deus Ex or Time Splitters, like I'm with Logan. I 100% think you could do Time Splitters in the modern day. You could totally do it, and I think that arena shooters, I think they could pop back big because like at the minute the big multiplayer things are really still battle royale games. Extraction had its huge thing last year with Arc Raiders, and Arc Raiders is still huge, but like I feel like you either have fast paced multiplayer such as things like Overwatch and I can't even remember what the Overwatch clone was called, but like
Oh, Battleborn.
yeah, Battleborn, like stuff like that. And like people seem to like those games, but like I feel like arena shooters were so much more fun. way faster pace. You get killed, you instantly respawn back on the map, and the arena multiplayer maps were super fun to play in. And those games always had modes where you could fight bots, which I always liked. Um, Plus, that was like the industry standard back then when you didn't really have online multiplayer for every game. But yeah, hey, if they bring back all these IPs, that's great. It is disappointing that Eidos Montreal cannot make a new Deus Ex game just because, Embracer keeps saying no. By the way, I don't know if I've talked about this story on the channel. So, after Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and, it had its rough launch and stuff, but when it came back, and it did really well, when Edge Runners came out and it had its free next-gen upgrade and when it was actually fixed, right? Cyberpunk was starting to pop off really big in 2022, and then it really did in 2024, I think, when Phantom Liberty came out. Now, around that time, Eidos Montreal apparently basically suggested to Embracer like they want to make a brand new big open world Deus Ex game. And they basically, talked about how it would be like Cyberpunk, which was popping off at the time. And Embracer had no interest whatsoever. Dumb decision.
That's a bummer.
Like, oh my god, open world Deus Ex, big open world city Deus Ex, like, my god. I don't know what they were thinking. Embracer. The funny thing about Embracer is, like, a couple of years ago, everyone was, like, pro Embracer because, they're buying all these IPs. They wanted the studios to have, like, full control over the IPs they were making games for. And then when that Saudi Arabia deal fell through, they cut back on everything super quick. But yeah, unfortunately, that was bad. But hey, hopefully we see a lot of games come from this. I'm just going to assume they're going to work with Amazon Game Studios because, they have a bunch of free developers now that aren't making live service games. But hey, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Let's see what we got now. Because, my God, we still have, okay, now this is a topic I've been wanting to talk about for days, and I'm super happy, and I'm going to nerd out, and I'm pretty sure there's people in chat that might like this as well. So, I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan, and for years on social media, I've been asking, for the love of God, can we get Metal Gear Solid 4 on Xbox? It seemed like a tall ask, let's be honest, right? A PS3 game that only ever been made for PS3 that was rumored to be on the 360 at the time, but wasn't for a bunch of different reasons, although those reasons made clear like a year ago. It was a tall ask, right? I wasn't really being super realistic when I was asking for it. But when they came out with Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, let me tell you, hopium. I was huffing on the hopium big time because I saw a glimmer of hope, right? That we could possibly live in a reality where Metal Gear Solid 4 does come to Xbox. So anyway, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 comes out. People see that there's MGS4 listed in a bunch of website coding, which hints at a Master Collection Volume 2. They patch the first game over and over again when it finally gets to a state where it's basically locked 4K 60. It's great now. And they also put out a patch a couple of months ago where you can actually play Metal Gear Solid 1, the PlayStation game, in 4K now. Because they listen to fans. And we actually complained about that, Logan, if you remember. How Konami wanted people to have access to the original version, which is blurry. Now that's not the case. Well, anyway, they announced Master Collection Volume 2. I go absolutely nuts, let's be honest, because Metal Gear Solid 4 is finally coming to Xbox this August. It's going to be on Switch as well, PC, PlayStation, everything. But I have always been wondering, what state is it going to be in? Because companies bringing over PlayStation 3 games, it's still a bit weird. That game has a lot of PS3 stuff in the game. There's an actual PlayStation 3. There's an iPod in the game. There's lots of references to different brands. And there's also lots of references to what the PlayStation 3 could do at the time. It was a Blu-ray player. It had a 6-axis controller, that type of thing. Well, anyway, after months and months of speculation, some Japanese developers were playing the game on stream the other day, and it turns out best case scenario happened. So I have a bunch of stuff here I want to read out because I want to get this right. So the iPod, which let you play different music tracks in the game, is coming back. Somehow they got the license to use Apple's iPod in the game. Because
That
in
was not cheap, is my guess.
yeah, that couldn't have been cheap because what Metal Gear Solid 4 was what 2007, 8, like that around the time the iPhone came out. So like that game having the iPod then kind of made sense. You know, Apple wasn't as quote unquote corporate as they are now. But yeah, the iPods in the game. All the other electronical brands are in the game as well. There's also the energy drink, the Japanese energy drink called Regain. That's in the game as well. Now the game is going. It looks like it's going to be 4K, 60 FPS, and it looks like it's just not like 4K output. So all the text in the game looks 4K now. Even the text on just like the items Snake uses like out in the field. And all the references to things that are PS3 related, it looks like they may have actually went in and rebuilt those things from scratch. Okay, so 2008. But it looks like they've rebuilt a lot of things in the game from scratch. So you're gonna have Xbox references in the Xbox version, you know, PlayStation and PlayStation, Switch and Switch. And it looks like we're actually having the best case scenario for Metal Gear Solid 4. And I went over this footage with tooth and comb. I'm not gonna lie, because I adore Metal Gear Solid 4. And you know, if that was going to be on 360 back in the day, if it happened, that would have been on like 17 discs. Thankfully, that won't be the case when this game comes out in August. But fans are going to get the best version of this game. Even things as so, for instance, if you wanted to back out to the main menu from pausing the game, you couldn't really do that in the original. You can now. Just things like that. Overall presentation of the game. When this game launched on PS3, it actually relied heavily on pressure-sensitive buttons because the face buttons on a PS3 were pressure-sensitive. It turns out you're going to be able to play this game like a traditional third-person shooter with, you know, left trigger to aim, right trigger to shoot. Thank goodness, right? Because as much as I love Metal Gear a lot. Modern controls with Metal Gear just plays so well. So well. The remake of 3 proves that instantly. But I'm so happy because literally they nailed it. And obviously, you know, I won't know the whole story until I actually get to play it. But man, best case scenario, it happened. This could have been a quick port, lazy effort, but Konami, they actually went in. They've put a lot of effort into it. Hell, if you're licensing an iPod in 2026 in a video game that's maybe going to sell 3 million copies, that's caring. So yeah, I'm happy. Logan, what do you think? Because I know I'm a bit nerdy when it comes to Metal Gear, beyond nerdy, but like it sounds like they're doing like really good things with this version.
Yeah, I like Metal Gear. I'm not as big into it as you are, but I appreciate and can always, respect dedication to craft and the idea of like, hey, we want this to be as true to form as possible. We're going to bring back the iPod and the references and playlist, the PS3 controller, and oh, wow, it's a Blu ray player
Yeah.
type stuff. And like, same as like when Alan Wake comes out. I always bring this one up for obscure licensing
Oh
stuff.
yeah, the
Like they
batteries.
had the batteries like was branded, or like this random game has a Coke vending machine, or it's like background stuff or stuff that gets incorporated into the story that you just kind of just take for granted at some point. It's like, oh, this is one of my items. It just dedication to that to the nth degree really does add up and helps make the world feel more lived in and alive. So I really respect that they went out there and did that instead of going, this was fun, but it was very much an '08 thing, and we don't know if the iPad kids of 2026 really care, so
Yeah.
we're just not gonna put it in there. But for the old heads, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know people might be listening, thinking, "Why is he nerding out about it? About like an iPod in a game?" That game is very much a game of its time. And I feel like, like you said with the relicensing of things, like Energizer batteries in Alan Wake, I always used to think was pretty cool. Kind of makes it more immersive, just having like a sort of a real life element in the game, as small as it is.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, having the iPod back, different brands and stuff. Yeah, I love it. And look, Konami's had a lot of hate over the years when it comes to like their game preservation tactics. Um, but I'll give them a win for this. Everything I'm saying looks really good. Uh, People have also found that you might actually have access to all of Metal Gear Solid's music in the game. Uh,
Hmm.
because the game they were playing was in Japanese, so it's hard to understand. But like, man, so impressed. But yeah, that's coming out on Xbox this August, and yes, that will include Peace Walker as well. I love Metal Gear. I'm not the biggest Peace Walker fan. I think the controls were horrible. If they can fix the controls, then we'll talk. Now, we have a big topic, and this is arguably one of the biggest topics in gaming of the year. And I'm actually surprised more companies or more outlets aren't talking about it, and that is Bungie. Um, Bungie's, let's be honest, they've had a rough time because they came out with Destiny in 2014. People loved it. It was a new kind of game, and honestly, like as much as I've said in the past, I'm not a big Destiny fan. That game in 2014 felt like a next gen experience, right? The way it plays, the way it looks, the shared world aspect, and them coming off the backs of Halo, you'd think like they have to come out with something unique, something big. And Destiny was huge, and it had its expansions and stuff. Then Destiny 2 came out. Destiny 2 was a full-priced game when it came out, and then it got its expansions. Then they made it free to play, and then it got even more expansions, and over time they added free-to-play elements such as buying coins and stuff. And then they start sunsetting content. And I feel like, if you buy a game or want to play a game, you should be able to play the whole thing. I think sunsetting content for a game is stupid. And, they've talked about in the past how it's about file sizes. Yet you can play all of World of Warcraft's 20-year-old content. It seemed like a lame excuse for Bungie. And, they start sunsetting more content. And, Logan, did you ever play Destiny 2 at all?
I never played the second one. I did play the first one for a little bit.
Right. So the first game's campaign, I played all of that. I didn't actually play the DLC, but I loved it. The second game starts off with the huge tower in the middle of that city. It's being attacked, and it's epic. It's super cool, super well done. And then the story takes place from like a farm afterwards, where you and all these other guardians are trying to recover from the big battle. That entire campaign that people bought in 2017 or whenever Destiny 2 came out, you can't play it anymore. Your game disc, is a coaster. The information on that disc you can't access anymore. So the game people paid, they don't have access to it. As far as I know, some paid expansions, I think, are also not playable anymore, which I think is unacceptable. I think it's stupid. And
Yeah,
people,
that seems like something regulatory people might want to take a look at.
doesn't it seem like something that you hear like a class action lawsuit about?
I mean, the idea of like the whole stop killing games thing,
Yeah,
like this seems to fit along with that. Like the idea of you bought something and you have it and you should be able to still have access to it instead of, well, for data reasons, we're just going to make it inaccessible anymore, even though you own it. It's like, yeah, I still got internet. I can still play it if I want to. And yeah, that's scuzzy. I don't like that.
yeah, it's just poor management, and like everything about that studio for the past couple of years has been pretty bad. You have higher ups bragging about how many cars they've bought, and yet they were firing staff. They put people on Marathon, this extraction game, which at the time, people didn't really know what a lot of extraction games were like, because extraction wasn't really quote unquote mainstream yet, so we didn't really know anything. And they've just had a bunch of mismanagement issues, and like this is beyond Sony, right? Like this goes into like Bungie just having hilariously bad mismanagement for years. You would have thought Activision would have been the culprits of what happened to Destiny. Like, if going back and think about it, Activision was actually really good for Destiny and Bungie. Them going free to play, honestly. You wouldn't have seen this, Logan, but like I made a post the other day about what I would do with Destiny 3. Now, I'll be honest, that was just a throwaway tweet. I didn't really think about it much. But at the same time, I was trying to bait people in a way, because I said that what they need to do with Destiny 3 is make it a full price title, give it 2 expansions per year, give it a 3-year lifespan, and do not market it as a live service game. Right? Now, does that seem outlandish what I just said, Logan?
No, that sounds like a game we would have grown up with.
Right? Now, that game I just described, people lost their marbles. This post I made on Twitter, it has like 300 replies. Yeah.
Like, you left the light on for the moths, Jamie.
Yeah, people were angry. Now, the bait part of that post was that my post describes the first Destiny game. People just didn't notice. Because you bought the first Destiny game, you bought expansions, there was no live service crap really in the game, and that was that. You bought the expansions, and by the way, you can play all of Destiny 1's content still. All of it. But with Destiny 2, they start letting you buy bloody coins and stuff. The live service model. Honestly, I feel like, and some people might dislike this, like, the current gaming market is super fickle. And I feel like the only live service model people are willing to accept is being able to buy skins and battle passes. By the way, I don't like neither of those things. But like that's clearly the thing that works. It works with Fortnite. It works with Warzone, Apex, all that stuff. But with Destiny 2, like if you want to buy into that game right now, it's like $120 or something to buy all of that content to play. Bear in mind, you still don't have access to the main campaign in like the first expansion or something. So like that game has no onboarding. Like, I can open up Twitter any day of the week, and I can see at least one person in my feed saying, hey, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the first time. Hey, I'm playing Mass Effect Trilogy for the first time. Just anything like that, any game. In my entire time in social media, I've never seen a single person say, hey, I'm trying out Destiny years later after it came out. Because there's no way to onboard in that game. So, like, that's why Destiny's player number has kind of been stagnant for a long time, because all the players have played all the content. They can't get new players because there's not really a good place to start. So, like, what does Sony do? Do they go out and pay for a Destiny 3, which would be a bloody expensive game? Do they continue to give Destiny 2 content, which they were planning to make content for? Or do they just disband and forget everything and just focus on Marathon? And it looks like Sony's focusing on Marathon. Bungie has over 800 employees. And let me tell you, you do not need 800 employees to make an extraction game. The game's made. They just need to support it with maps, new items. They came out with a new cinematic today, which looks fantastic, by the way. They have a great cinematics team over at Bungie. But my God, I think that game is that game in that studio is cooked. I think it was yesterday they had 11,000 concurrent players on Steam, and I know concurrent players on Steam aren't everything, but my God, you can't support an 800-person studio of a a live service extraction game. I don't know. Like I feel like Bungie going forward, they're in for a rough time. The Destiny community's in ashes. Like they aren't handling it well. And yeah, it's just like it's low key one of the biggest news stories of the year because Destiny's been such a huge part of gaming for years. It was a huge part of the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Destiny 2, when it came out, was massive. And now, like, Bungie's just like, honestly, they're in the gutter. I don't even know what can be done. There's a petition going on right now to Sony so they can make a Destiny 3. Honestly, if you're a Destiny fan and you want a Destiny 3, I think it's June 9th, when like the last update for Destiny 2 comes out. Download Destiny, play it, boost those player numbers through the sky, because if they all of a sudden have like 3 million people playing Destiny, that'll make their eye twitch a bit, because Destiny would generate a lot of revenue if they made a third game. They just need a way to onboard new players regularly, because again, for like Logan, if he got into Destiny 2 right now, let me tell you, they throw you in the deep end. Nothing's explained. The story makes no sense. And yeah, that's the experience for all new players at the minute. Doesn't make sense. It's terrible. Logan, I've been rambling for 10 minutes. What's your take on the whole Bungie situation? Because like they've been a staple in gaming for a long time, but Bungie's been a huge part of Destiny's been a huge part of Bungie for what 12 years now, and it looks like they might not be here a year from now.
Yeah, I'll just be cold and blunt. Like Bungie's been a problem for a long time. Have you ever noticed that they've been part of Microsoft, they've been part of Activision, they've been independent, and then they've been acquired by Sony, and then yet there's always problems,
Yep.
always. Like it's at some point you just gotta take and look in the mirror and look and go, I am the problem, not oh, Microsoft wants us to do Halo and we want to spread our wings and be free. Okay, so we'll go to Activision. Activision got a whole bunch of other bleep going on that's not great right now.
Yeah.
And even they're like, dude, you guys aren't worth it. Get out of here. And they leave and they get their independence. And then they're independent a while. And then they get acquired by Sony and now they're like at the lowest they've ever been. And the one constant has remained leadership and the teams overall. Like people have come and gone, but their overall Bungie culture has not exactly been a pillar of wonder and splendor in the world. And so you've got all this, and then you have the Galaxy Brain genius idea to vault your content and gatekeep your own game from new users.
Yeah.
You have a live service game you want to get new users for, but how do you expect to bring in new users if they can't understand what in the flying flip they're jumping into or have any investment or reason to get into it? You get accused of plagiarism at least 5 times for your newest game.
Jeez.
You have your newest game. It's not exactly setting the world on fire. It's getting its lunch eaten by arc raiders and other games and Fortnite. And you've still got the leadership in place and all this other stuff. Honestly, if they don't significantly have a purge of like management and like bring in new people or get a different kind of IP going or really hit the nail on the head for Destiny 3. Honestly, I think Bungie will either A, get absolutely gutted out and drop from like 800 to like 200 and be just like a studio with a staff to support whatever they're working on and a little bit of smaller stuff, or they'll be taken up to a farm upstate and where they can go chase rabbits and do stuff and they just won't exist anymore. Like honestly, Bungie's on super thin ice. They better get their act together and they better get it act together quick, otherwise it's curtains for Bungie.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. The thing is, right? uh, I, I'm not like the hugest like Destiny fan, but like looking at everything they've made, everything they've done over the past several years, like you said, under Microsoft they messed up, or under Activision they messed up, under Sony they messed up. It's like we could all blame Sony, but at the end of the day, it's like Activision. They clearly, not Activision, Bungie clearly don't know how to manage their own studio. Um, you know, like you mentioned, the whole plagiarism thing. Like, how does that even get by? Editorial.
Once, let alone 5 times.
Yeah, and like it just seemed like such a weird thing. Like, there's so many things that's gone wrong with that studio, and like when it comes to like even Marathon, right? Arc Raiders was popping off, it introduced Extraction to the casual audience, and all they had to do was basically market it the same, and they would. I honestly thought Marathon had a pretty big chance of being a success because of Arc Raiders. But like Arc Raiders, you have 14 million players, and Marathon, I think last time we checked, it's like 1.3 million, where most of that's on PC. But then again, most of the Extraction players are on PC. I just don't know what they were thinking, like putting all their eggs in the basket of Marathon. And like, Marathon's got a lot of cool things going for it. I think the art style, the stuff that's actually made in house, not stolen, actually looks pretty cool. I think the world they've created looks really cool. I enjoyed my time with the beta outside of the whole super PvP heavy aspect of it, but man, like they've just been mismanaged incredibly bad. And the funny thing is, right, a Destiny 3 would take years to make, right? Because they'd have to remake everything. They'd probably have to start on a new engine because, as far as I know, Destiny's engine is the Halo engine. Just like heavily modified. I remember stories going back to 2015 talking about how, the reason why Destiny 1 content took so long to make is because the hardware and the software was just crap. They were basically, using an engine that wasn't capable with making, a live service game like that. But yeah, like I know apparently Sony's going to give Bungie 6 months to a year of Marathon support. But like that game, it's been made. They just need to support it with maps, missions, for skins for characters and stuff. But I just don't understand how you support an 800 plus person studio off that. Like Marathon isn't exactly like Steam in the charts. It's in a very niche genre, especially on console, and yeah. And it's such a shame because Bungie, like, they made Halo. Like, it's hard to believe that the Halo studio, the OG Halo studio, are just going to be gone maybe a year from now. I know Destiny 3 would cost a crap ton of money. They'd have to invest in a new engine. They'd have to make everything from scratch. They wouldn't be able to, port over aspects such as like raids and stuff. But one of the reasons why I made that Twitter post the other day is because so I got Borderlands 4 for Christmas, and I've been saving it to play through with one of my friends, and we should be starting in the next month or so. And I got a bit curious. I was thinking, what does Borderlands roadmap actually look like? So anyway, I went to Gearbox's website, and I looked at the roadmap, and I thought, that's actually a decent amount of content. And then I burst out laughing because what I described with the multiple expansions in a year, that's Borderlands, right? Right. So other than the first Destiny game, in Borderlands 4, you get 2 story expansions in the first year. You're getting raids, MMO style raids, and you're getting a bunch of features and free support, right? So when I posted the other day, like, oh, this game needs to be like Borderlands, am I wrong? Like, because Borderlands isn't described to people as an MMO. Right? Destiny 1 was never described to people as an MMO. I feel like as soon as Bungie had 100% control over what they were doing, and people can go back to those live streams are still up, where there's like, hey, Destiny 2 is going to free to play. We're not published by Amazon. I can't speak today. We're not published by Activision anymore. And then they start talking about themselves like they were an MMO, like World of Warcraft. They start talking about raids and every MMO term you can imagine. They start talking about it, but for Destiny. And I feel like that was the huge downfall, really. Right? It wasn't the lack of regular content, and I feel like it had regular content enough. And also, I feel like these players they catering to, these people only play this game. They play for like hundreds, thousands of hours. It's one of the few games they do play, but they play this game to death, right? And I feel like that is a mentality from the game that kind of needs to stop. you know, uh, like you shouldn't get into an MMO or a game to play for 10,000 hours. You should play till you've had enough to play. Like for instance, I've played some MMOs before for 50 hours, and I was like, you know what? I've had enough. I'll move on to something else. But Bungie treating it like an MMO clearly backfired. Doing the super life service thing with coins and being able to buy stuff didn't work. And now Sony has a choice. Do they only pay for Marathon going forward? Did they invest what 2, 3, 4, $500 million into a Destiny 3? I think we know which way it's going to go. But yeah. Anyway, we'll move on because we have a bunch of topics still left to go. And honestly, these are all positive topics. And I know Logan will like this one. So the company that make Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2, their game popped off last year. They had a live stream the other day. And they just low-key randomly announced 2 games. And one of which is a new Kingdom Come game, which is coming out next year. They said it's not going to take them another 7 years to make a new game. So yeah, brand new Kingdom Come Deliverance game is coming out next year. They didn't say it was going to be a third game, so I think it's just going to be another game set in that universe. They were on about how they can make games faster now because the developers are far more, they've learned a lot over the years by making these games. So yeah, no 7-year dev time. So yeah, you're getting a brand new Kingdom Come game next year, but they're also making arguably the very first open world Middle Earth RPG. Now, I love Lord of the Rings. I know I complain. Let's be honest, I whine about fantasy a lot, but Lord of the Rings is a staple for me. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, The Two Towers specifically. But we've been asking for a AAA Middle Earth game for years now, and I feel like we've never had the big open world experience when it comes to Middle Earth. And it looks like this is going to be it. You have arguably one of the most detailed RPG developers in the world, making one of the most immersive RPGs, hardcore RPGs with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, making a game set in Middle Earth. Like, this game has so much potential. It's frightening because Middle Earth's a big place. There's lots to do. There's lots of different places. You have Minas Tirith, you have Helm's Deep, you have Rohan, Gondor, the Shire, bit everywhere, right? So for them to make an immersive RPG set in Middle Earth, that's a tall ask. First of its kind, really. But you know what? I think they can do it. And if any studio's going to do it, it's going to be them. Now, Logan, I've been rambling long enough, and let's be honest, I'm melting in this heat. What do you take away from the Kingdom Come Deliverance studio making a Middle Earth game?
Well, off the top of my head, they're just a perfect fit. Like, usually when there's a game that you always fantasize about happening and you like come up with some dream team ideas for somebody to handle that particular project or collaborations or you know, spitballing ideas like, man, these people would be perfect with this, or these guys could handle mechanics on this, world on that, stuff like that. They are a spitting image, just perfect fit for Middle Earth. They have dealt into the hardest of hardcore RPG, like nitty gritty details, living and breathing Bohemia and Middle Ages and just the swordplay, life of a peasant, woman's lot, all this stuff to where they are like history nerds to like the nth degree. And it takes someone like that to handle Lord of the Rings because of all the lore.
Yeah.
Like we talk about how Warhammer has a lot of lore. My goodness, Lord of the Rings has some lore to it. And he just the idea of somebody who can handle all that and are well versed in that to develop this game and this world and all the mechanics they can bring over, and then they can, delve into fantasy stuff. Like, their games are fantastic and awesome, but they're also very grounded. Like, this allows them to spread their wings a little bit and have, dragons and elves and orcs and goblins and, all the Lord of the Ring folklore stuff. So to me, it's a perfect fit, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think another thing that's going to be exciting about their game as well, if you play the Kingdom Come Deliverance games or like even watch the trailers, there's huge battles in those games.
Oh yes, big scale.
Yeah, so like obviously I don't think this is going to be like set during the movies or the books. I'm guessing it'll be like a prequel or whatever. But like either way, you're probably going to see some really cool stuff. Like if I can see Minas Tirith in first person, I'm guessing it's going to be first person. My God, that game's going to be amazing. Um, but like they didn't really specify when it was going to come out because they did say, look, these games aren't going to take 7 years. Kingdom Come Deliverance or Kingdom Come whatever game comes out next year. Um, like hopefully we'll see it by the end of this decade. But hey, excuse me. Hey, this is good news. And plus, you know how there's been rumors floating around how there's an open world Middle Earth game that's meant to be the Lord of the Rings version of Hogwarts Legacy.
Hmm.
This isn't that game. There's more than one.
Really? So there is another,
Yeah,
as
there is
Yoda
another.
would say.
As the lights go dim. But yeah, there is another, and thank God because like Lord of the Rings games, it just seems like such an easy thing that you could do. There's so many different things you could do. The fact that we haven't had an open world RPG is crazy if you think about it. We had Shadow of Mordor, then we had Shadow of War, then that had its hilariously bad launch with the microtransactions, although there's a good game in there if people play it. They did patch all that stuff out, by the way, if people want to play it. Um, but my God, if they can get this right, it might end up being one of the best games of all time. But hey, that's good news. And it will be interesting to see what their new Kingdom Come games like because their games are typically showing off around a year before release. So I'm guessing if they coming out with a brand new Kingdom Come game next year, we might even see it this summer, which is crazy if you think about it. But yeah, and for people that are wondering, yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 are in Game Pass if you want to play them. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 got a huge patch, a huge next gen patch, and it's like 4K, 60, all that, fancy goodness. And it looks great. Looks so good. It's a super hardcore RPG though. It doesn't hold your hand. There's no yellow paint. you know, it's very much work it out for yourself. But it is like an immersive game. Um, but yeah, Lord of the Rings RPG. That thing's gonna be amazing. Now, about an hour into the show. If you're enjoying it, please hit like, share, and subscribe. The likes do help with the algorithm, and I hate doing these little ads, but it does help. Super chats are live if you want anything read out, or if you want a new topic added into the show. It's all greatly appreciated and all goes back into the channel. Anyway, let's see what we've got next. So, Xbox. Oh my God, I've got a bunch of different topics listed here. It's the same thing. 1 second. So Xbox is coming out with a brand new merch store. This isn't really news, but it leads into something we're going to be talking about in a bit. I think the way Xbox has sold merch in the past has been a bit weird. You've had the Gear store and you've had Xbox certain brands sell their own stuff. So it looks like Xbox is going to sell all of their, let's be honest, merchandise through one website. Kind of like what PlayStation and Nintendo do. And I think that's the smart move. Xbox's merch store's kind of been disconjointed for a long time. That's pretty good. Now this I think this was live yesterday. So Unreal Engine 6 was randomly announced and teased with Rocket League. I'll be honest, a lot of people got excited with this announcement. Um, I can't get excited, man. I really can't.
5 is cooked right now, and they want to go to 6 already.
Yeah, and I know Umber might be listening, but like, look, when you have an Unreal Engine 5 game and it performs well, like Arc Raiders, I will defend Arc Raiders' performance and visuals because my god, that game is beautiful. You have locked 60 with all sorts happening on screen, and those developers actually made fun of all the unoptimized games when that game came out because Arc Raiders is perfect when it comes to performance. But like so many games come out, there's lighting problems, the performance isn't great, and then you have Epic like teasing Unreal Engine 6. And I made a meme about it, and some people that know a lot more about game development, people that are game developers, talked about how because I joked about like how we all complain about Unreal Engine 5 and how the performance is crap. And a lot of people in the development space replied to me saying, look, all these things are going to be sorted with Unreal Engine 6. I love that sentiment. However, we didn't see that sentiment with Unreal Engine 5 from 4. you know, clearly there were a lot of issues with UE5. And look, before we all got our Xbox Series consoles and our PlayStation 5s, we were all shown Unreal Engine 5. Right? How this engine was going to make games look amazing. There was not going to be any more sliding through cracks in a wall to hide a loading screen. you know, um, and let's be honest, a lot of developers are kind of relying on some tool sets that just automatically do things rather than optimize crap. Which is why you see bad performance in a lot of games, which is why you see things like flickering, bad anti-aliasing, and just bad lighting in some games. Like Elder Scrolls not Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Remake, right? I think it's a brilliant game. When that game launched, that had a very weird lighting bug when it was at night. Like there'd be these floating orbs of light that weren't fireflies or anything. It was just a genuine lighting bug with Unreal Engine 5. And look, I want to see some cool looking games. But when I saw that announcement and we're seeing these bloated development times for games, it just got me thinking like, are we going to have to see another generation of developers take 4 to 5 years to learn how to use this tech? Us complain for years that we're seeing badly optimized games, bad lighting games, broken elements when it comes to lighting, which I see all the time in games. Are we going to have another generation of that? Or is Unreal Engine 6 going to be, magically fixing everything? I love new tech. I love, we're getting new hardware next year. I love that we're getting all these fancy new games, but I cannot get excited about Unreal Engine 6, especially after the past 5 years. My God, fix your engine. Now, I've been whining. Logan, what do you think? Because I can't get excited about this.
Yeah, I've obviously been off socials for a bit, so I hadn't heard about the Unreal 6, but to me that's just laughable. Like with all the stuff Epic's going through right now with Unreal Engine 5 optimization issues, they're still in legal stuff with various entities around the world trying to get things resolved for opening of storefronts and stuff, and then Fortnite and development stuff. It's just really we're already jumping to Unreal 6. Shouldn't we fully figure out 5 first? Or is this them cutting losses and saying 5 is just cooked and we're just gonna get the 6 already? And I don't know. We'll see. Like, I still think maybe it's because, I'm a pie in the sky person, but I still think some of the older engines have lasted longer and been better. So, I don't know. Maybe if it ain't broke, don't fix, but we'll see.
Yeah, can you remember in the seventh generation how a lot of Unreal Engine 3 games, they all kind of had the Unreal Engine
Yes.
3 look? You know,
Yeah, Unreal Engine 3 lasted a long time and it was very good, but yes, everything had that filter vibe. And then Unreal Engine 4 was around for a bit and it was a bit different though.
yeah. But like if you fire up like Mass Effect 2, Gears of War 2, uh, Bioshock. Batman Arkham Asylum, like all Unreal Engine 3 games, they still look good. I feel like the performance at the time was good, but like developers spent that entire generation learning how to optimize the games, learn how to optimize the engine for each platform, and by the end of the generation, we had games that looked demonstrably different than the beginning of the generation. I feel like we haven't had this. We haven't had that this generation. We had super good looking games year one, and we have super good looking games year 5 or 6, and it feels like we still have the optimization problems. It feels like nothing's really gotten better. And I see these games that use their own in-house engine. Crimson Desert uses their own engine. That new Bond game uses the Glacier engine. Space Marine 2, that uses the Swarm engine. Warhorse Studios, they use a custom CryEngine 4, I think. And these games look amazing, a lot of which perform amazing. And it's just like Unreal Engine. Like, I hear nothing bad. And obviously, if you get a good team optimizing these games, like, they will look good, they will perform good. Like, again, Arc Raiders, I'm sure Gears of War ED, that'll perform and look amazing, because that's their bread and butter, Unreal Engine. But it just feels like Unreal Engine 6 is slapping a band-aid on the problem and not fixing it. I'd love to be wrong. But like, I've noticed a term pop up called Unreal Engine 5 slop. Whenever a new game's shown off.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
And honestly, I'm not against that term. Like, I do sort of see the Unreal Engine 5 slop. Because, yeah, on the 7th gen, you did have a lot of Unreal Engine games that looked very similar, a lot of which had the yellow P filter. But, like, it was still a good generation, still had a bunch of good games that works, and it just feels like at the minute, I'm just waiting for a new Unreal Engine game to be announced, and it has the same slop look as other games. I would love to be wrong, though. But yeah, basically the way they teased it the other day is that they put out a trailer for a new Rocket League. Because as far as I know, Rocket League has been Unreal Engine 3 for years. I could be wrong, they might have upgraded it, but I mean, that's a game where you play football in a car. There's not much to it, really. But people use like weird advantages that the engine does and can't do to use, like, do weird physics tricks in the air to stay in the air for forever. Weird stuff. But anyway, Unreal Engine 6, I hope it's good, but my God, I can't take another generation of just developers glazing this engine and then not optimizing their games. Hopefully that won't be a thing. Let's see what we got next. My God, we've still got like half the topics left. So Take-Two Interactive, they had their investors calling thing. As you can tell, by the way, my foot's in agony, so I think I'm just losing words through my foot at this minute. Or for people that have just joined the show now, I may have broke my foot. So if I say ow at any point during the show, you'll know why. Make sure you step on curbs correctly. But yeah, Take-Two had their earnings call, and some interesting things came out about Grand Theft Auto and about Rockstar in general. A lot of people had this thing against Rockstar for years because it seems like Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and that's all they were making. And then they came out with Red Dead Redemption 2, and we've had nothing since. I'm not including online map packs or online support for GTA. They said in their earnings call that over the next year or so, Rockstar are going to come out, or Take-Two are going to come out with multiple remakes and remasters of existing popular IP. So that got me and a lot of other people to think that, Grand Theft Auto 4, Max Payne 3, Manhunt. Although I think you'd have to be ballsy to release Manhunt.
I don't think they have the balls to do that. But that would be awesome, but no.
Yeah, I would love Manhunt to come back, but I think that game was actually banned in the UK.
It's banned in Australia, I know that for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. But hey, I want more Rockstar games again. Red Dead Redemption 2 is perfect. Just give it 60 frames per second. We've all got our copies still. Just upgrade it. Um, but yeah, Grand Theft Auto 4 is the big one. And I did see someone talk about how like a proper remaster for Bioshock. Like Bioshock's already got a remaster in the collection. However, it's not the best remaster. It's kind of lazy. It's just a port. Um, we do have more Rockstar games coming though, which is nice because they've been sitting on a bunch of games for a very long time. Max Payne 3 is bloody brilliant, excellent. Because we have a remake of Max Payne 1 and 2 coming out by Remedy next year. So like a remaster of Max Payne 3 makes a lot of sense. Grand Theft Auto 4 would sell to a lot of people because you have people like me who don't buy microtransactions but do buy full games. So you'd have people like me. And honestly, Grand Theft Auto 4 had free multiplayer. When I say free, it didn't have microtransactions, but it had fun multiplayer. If they remaster 4 and it has that multiplayer, I think they would get several million more people to buy that game. Although, let's be honest, it's Rockstar. They're not going to put the multiplayer in because there's no microtransactions. But it does look like Rockstar finally going to start coming out with more remasters and remakes and stuff, which, I know it seems a bit weird that getting excited over remakes and remasters and stuff, but these games, especially Rockstar stuff, they get delisted, and if they're going to come out with stuff that people will buy like this, I'm all for it. But also, Rockstar wants to expand, or should I say Take-Two, into making sequels of IP, and L.A. Noire came up. And let's be honest, L.A. Noire, very unique game. We don't really have a lot of games like that. I think a lot of people would be so down for L.A. Noire 2. Logan, did you ever play that?
Yeah, I did. It is truly a revolutionary investigative type game. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, like that game was using like Avatar style motion capture when it came to the actors' faces, and it's like still looks really good. The textures are pretty bad, but the technology itself and the expressions are basically flawless. Excuse me. It's like the fact that we could see a sequel and like just other games, like maybe even a Max Payne 4, because they want to make sequels to dormant IP. There is allegedly a full-on Mafia 4 in the works that has nothing to do with the one that came out last year, which is meant to be a full-size game, allegedly in Las Vegas. Which, if that's the case, that'll be amazing. But yeah, I love the idea of Take-Two bringing back a bunch of older IP. I'm a huge fan of older IP. Logan, what do you think? Because Take-Two, they have been sleeping on a lot of Rockstar stuff for a long time, and it looks like we are actually going to see some older games return.
Yeah, that's music to my ears because you and I both have a fondness for older established IP and want them to come back in some capacity. Um, you mentioned Manhunt, like obviously that one would be awesome, but I just don't think there's a snowball's chance of that one flying today.
Yeah.
It would be really cool if they did. Or I think Bully, a reboot of Bully or Bully 2 would be a really good idea and would work today.
Yeah.
I think there's something timeless about the boarding school idea and like GTA but toned down a little bit but mixed with Persona like school stuff. It works. And I think that they could really have something cooking with that if they gave Bully another look. Agent, like, why not? Try actually release the game or, reboot that. That was a project a lot of people had interest in. Uh, Max Payne 3, I'd love another uh take on Max Payne 3 or Max Payne 4. I love that franchise so good. And I can't wait for Remedy's remakes of 1 and 2. And then, like GTA 4 was my favorite in the franchise, so I would definitely play GTA 4 again if they gave that another whirl. And like Midnight Club, like I'm not so sure if they really want to get back into the racing scene and stuff, but if they did, the Midnight Club games were a lot of fun. Especially like my favorite one to this day is Dub Edition Remix, Midnight Club 3
Oh
for
yeah.
the OG. Like I love that one. LA is good as well, but I'm just particularly fond of that one. And there was just something unique and different about those. So, yeah, Rockstar used to make more than two things. And I would really like to live in a world again where they do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, every time I post about this, people push back on it because Rockstar they have a huge fan base, but I used to like getting like 8 games a generation from them. you know, um,
Even table tennis was super cool.
yeah. Oh, do you want to hear something depressing about Rockstar table tennis?
Sure.
It's 20-year old.
Ow.
Yeah.
That that's crazy.
Like to me, it feels like it released. Oh yeah, 10 years ago. No, 20. It's like holy crap.
And nobody has had the balls to try that game again
Nope.
since.
Th-
Ugh.
Actually, that's crazy you mentioned that. No one else has bothered to make a third-person table tennis game like that. Physics-based
Yeah,
table
they
tennis.
just nuked the market. They're like, nope, we can't even ascend to this level. We're just gonna leave it.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think back then you were getting a Rockstar game every year and a half from them. You had a table tennis, then you had Bully, then you had GTA 4, then you had LA Noire, then Red Dead Redemption 1, then you had an expansion for Red Dead Redemption 1, then you had 2 expansions for GTA 4, then you had Grand Theft Auto 5, and then Zip till Red Dead 2. Um, my God, I just love for them to actually make something different. Obviously GTA 6 is going to do amazingly well. And by the way, speaking of GTA 6 and Xbox, a lot of Xbox social media accounts all of a sudden posting about Grand Theft Auto, and a lot of people are wondering like, what does this mean? Because PlayStation apparently has the marketing rights. Um, Honestly, I think with GTA 6 being such a big game, I don't think the marketing rights are going to be as strict as they have been in the past. Because like Take Two, right? Take Two is going to want everyone to buy this game on every platform. In the past, these marketing deals have looked kind of egregious. You know how you have on the sign in a store where it says PlayStation exclusive, and then small print it says Mission. Like that happens all the time. I think they want to avoid that. They want people on Xbox to know it's going to be on Xbox, and whether people like GTA or not, 6 is going to be one of the biggest games of all time. Um, day one. So Microsoft, they want people to know, yeah, that game's going to be available. If I was Take Two, I wouldn't have accepted any marketing deal. Not from Xbox, not from PlayStation. Like, you put out a new trailer, plaster those logos on everything. But that being said, we did see the logos on the past 2 trailers, so I don't think it's going to be a super strict marketing deal. But yeah, this game's going to be big. Let's see what we got next. My God, we've still got about half the topics left. You know what? Let's talk about Grand Theft Auto. I've got Grand Theft Auto on the mind. Let's talk about Forza Horizon 6 sales. So, before the game came out, the game had over, I think, 1.3 million players, meaning a lot of people bought the Premium Edition or the Premium Edition upgrade. The Premium Edition upgrade in the UK is like £50. That's almost a full price game there. So, like, a lot of people want to play this game. They made a lot of money day one. And then now the game has, I think, over 6 million players. The game is estimated to have sold a couple of million already. And honestly, that's good for a game. But what surprised me more than anything is that not only did this game chart number 2 in the UK, and bear in mind, this is physical chart. It charted number 2 in the UK, where physical media is basically dead. That surprised me. It goes to show that there's still a market for Xbox games being sold and physical. Because I love physical media. It is a shame that physical media in the UK started dying in 2013, 2012. This is a good sign. It shows that people still want this stuff. And it's a good sign because, it just shows that people will buy a good Xbox game even if it does launch in Game Pass. I think doing the whole play the game 4 days before it comes out thing, I think that's a perfectly viable marketing tactic. Doesn't really bother me, unless it doesn't, unless it can unless we get story spoilers from games, that's when it bothers me. But this is a racing game. So hey, Forza Horizon 6, it's doing really well. Logan, what do you think? Because again, number 2 in the UK, when a Lego Batman game comes out, is very good.
Yeah, it shows the power of the brand of Forza Horizon and just this dreadnought that Playground Games has created. Like 4 straight 91 plus rated games
Yeah,
clearly, carry some weight. The word of mouth, you see people that aren't even car people playing this game and talking about it and how cool it is and culturally and all this other stuff. And just you get this zeitgeist type game with this right now. And it's flourishing, it's doing well. A lot of people, like you said, bought the $100 edition or the upgrade, which was almost a game itself. So it goes to show you that maybe that is a potential way to help offset some dev costs and
yeah,
maybe help, uplift some other games. If you can make a good margin of profit from early access to stuff or upgrades and stuff like that, because you know, and we'll get into exclusivity and stuff again at some point, but, like, in a world where you're weighing options and trying to maximize returns without, brand damage or this or that, like, this is a feather to, keep in your hat potentially for down the line that, if we need to scratch and claw for every penny to make certain things work that we're giving up in exchange for exclusivity or for other stuff. Like this might be something that circles back for some other stuff down the road. So keep an eye on that. But in general, I'm very happy with it. Congratulations to the team. They've knocked it out of the park. It should be a game of the year honoree. Whether or not they have the balls to put a car game in there, I don't know. There might be, quote, reasons it gets left off again, but it won't be because of calendar reasons. Because, buddy, this game came out spring, early summer. So there's no excuses this time for that. So looking forward to it, man.
yeah. I mean, look, Forza's a huge brand, and I think we can all agree Horizon is like the dominant Forza game at the minute.
100%.
Um, Forza Horizon's always done really well in the UK, but just like when physical media and like Xbox was clearly not interested in doing a lot of physical media, like this game pops off, it's a great sign. You know what? Should we just talk about the elephant in the room because we still have a bunch of big topics to talk about?
Which
Exclusivity.
one?
Yeah. But exclusivity, it's been a bit of a tricky topic because people, as soon as you bring it up, people get super defensive. They want to argue about it. You can't just let opinions be opinions. You have to argue against people. I think that look, if it was up to me, every game would be on everything, right? Um, if you could play Zelda on an Xbox, that would be beautiful. You'd have 4K, 60, all that stuff. Um,
Imagine Smash Brothers with Xbox Live actual multiplayer
yeah,
instead of whatever Nintendo has hooked up in the back.
yeah. I mean, look, let's be honest. We all know Nintendo doesn't have the best netcode.
Yeah.
Like, before we get into the whole exclusivity thing, I remember there was a third-party developer that apparently approached Nintendo talking about how like they want to bring their online game to Wii U, and this developer said to the Nintendo person, "Look, have you got anything that works like Xbox Live, so we can have online multiplayer for our players?" And the Japanese representative from this the online team from Nintendo said that, "Oh no, Nintendo doesn't run on Xbox Live." Like they completely didn't get it. Maybe it was a translation error, but I just thought that was funny. It's like their online isn't really as good as Xbox 3 online. Like they're still like a few decades behind. The games are great though.
Oh, for sure.
But my God, like I'm sure they'll get stuff together. I mean, I think didn't the Switch One, it didn't have regular like chat. You couldn't plug in a headset and talk, but you can
Yeah,
now.
it had some weird chat stuff, and also like some of the games like would have multiplayer, but like if you're local, but like not on this Switch, but if someone else happened to have a Switch near you, it was very janky.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, back to the whole like exclusive thing. Look, it's a bit of a weird topic because if people disagree with you, they just want to write you off as a fanboy. They don't want to listen to actual, thought or thought process. And it's like I think it's okay for people to like, have different opinions on this stuff, but like I've been a fan of Xbox since day one. The second I picked up that Jupiter-sized controller and felt the offset thumbsticks, had the ability to, rip my own music and play them in games like WWE Raw 2 as entrance music. That was super cool. I was an Xbox fan. Then with the 360, I saw that dashboard, achievements. What's this? It was fascinating. So like I've been an Xbox fan for a very long time, and I think that I always talk about this, like when during the seventh generation, right? We talk about the seventh generation all the time, but I think the seventh generation was such a happy time for gaming. Um, so many different things were happening. The game industry felt like it was evolving in a really good way. But like that generation, there was never any talk of, oh no, this company's third. Are they still going to be right? Like, look, Microsoft's had to come out of the woodwork and confirm about 50 times that they're making a next gen console, right? Someone on Twitter makes up a rumor. Hey, I hear that Microsoft's shutting down the Xbox division, right? Some random, I can't say the word, on Twitter just makes up some random rumor that Xbox is shutting down. People from Microsoft had to come out on social media, even on YouTube, and make videos about how they are making a next gen console. They've been talking about next gen consoles for 2 years. That'll be 4 years before the console comes out. The longest a company's done this. They have to keep coming out and telling people that a new console's coming because someone keeps starting a rumor. Now, why would these rumors happen? It's because in the seventh generation, this didn't happen. If you were third, you still sold 90 million consoles. If you were second, great. First, even better. During that generation, all three companies, they weren't fighting to stay alive. They were fighting to be number one. The Xbox 360 was first place in NPD for 37 months in a row. And because of that, because of the missteps of the PS3, PlayStation got to work. They start making a huge variety of titles. They made the PlayStation 3 slim. They made it cheaper. They made a lot of bold choices with their second half of the generation, and it benefited them in the end. The Wii, everyone had a Wii, and at the second half of the generation, they start getting bigger third-party games. And Xbox, they were pushed to make a better console. And the Xbox 360, it had a 50% failure rate. And what did they do? Steve Ballmer, wrote the check and fixed the problem, right? All games that generation, we had great games. All three companies were bloody thriving. And now, it's not the conversation of who's trying to be number one. It's the conversation of, hey, Xbox is last. And it's like, how does Microsoft fix the problem? And the problem is, every time this topic comes up, people get super defensive. They like the idea that every game Xbox is making is on every product, but they never talk about how they want Nintendo games to come to Xbox or PlayStation games to come to Xbox. It's always about, hey, Xbox, can't wait to play Forza on PlayStation. It's like, that isn't helping anyone. And I've seen a lot of conversations today about it. It's like, my take is that if Xbox really wants their plans to, play out, they have to let them actually play out. They need to see what a strong first-party output can do. They need to see what these games can do for console sales. And they need to start marketing their console correctly. Selling your box, and we've talked about this before, but like selling your console with 4K, 60 FPS, HDR on the box. We all know these consoles do this now, right? Show us on the box what your console could do. Put a game character on there. Put a picture on the back of all the different games you can play. Say that you can do backwards compatibility. It's a multifaceted issue, really. You can't just say they need to go exclusive. They need to start marketing correctly again. And that's why the 360 generation was so strong. Because the marketing was on point that generation. And after they fixed their problems with the hardware that generation, they got to work. Marketing, key. They became the dominant platform when it comes to, the mindshare. And this generation, let's be honest, marketing hasn't exactly been their strongest suit. And, messaging's been terrible this generation, right? Phil Spencer comes out, says, hey, just these 4 games, no indication of more games going over. And then, oh, by the way, Indiana Jones is going to other... that Indiana Jones going to PlayStation was the one more thing at the Gamescom show. I've never seen that. I watch the Gamescom show every year. I've never seen a one more thing being a port. That was a bit crazy, bit out of the ordinary. But Xbox, now more than ever, they have a huge, strong first-party lineup, right? Variety of titles, single player. You've got some live service in there. You've got some party games. You've got everything, and it's like you're about to have a new console generation next year. You're wanting to grow your brand, right? You have an Elder Scrolls game coming out in the, we assume, year and a half, right? Shouldn't you want Xbox to, compete on that level? Because I fully think Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, they can all bloody thrive, right? The problem is people just want Xbox to sit back and do what they're doing. They want Xbox to just sell their console off the promise of, hey, you get your games day one in Game Pass. And by the way, I did say this today, so I'll address it. I did see people go online and start saying they would prefer exclusive games over day one games, and I don't know where people got this from. Right? People are just making up things online. I'm not saying this is the person in charge, but I'm saying I've noticed people bring this up based on nothing. Right? It's just because someone
It
writes
was a topic broached as a hypothetical by somebody.
Okay.
Hey, as a thought experiment. And
Okay.
then it just blew up.
Right, so a hypothetical, right? The hypothetical I'm not even going to bring up because it's a hypothetical, right? Xbox, Game Pass makes billions with a B, capital B, right? Them pulling first-party games from Game Pass doesn't even make sense, right? Call of Duty made sense because of Call of Duty, but for other first-party games, it's like Netflix. When you pay for Netflix, that money goes into paying for Netflix content. That's the same thing with Game Pass. And if you have your games going to other platforms, you have less people subscribing to Game Pass. I've seen it today. People talking about how Xbox's biggest games need to go to other platforms because they'll make more money. And it's but that's not the case for other platforms, right? If anything, Microsoft's having a strong first-party lineup of, let's say, a Gears of War E-Day, which is currently only announced for Xbox, and you have a Fable, and we'll just say StarCraft shooter, just an unannounced game that we don't know exists yet, right? If those games are announced as an Xbox exclusive, and it's like, hey, you have to buy into this platform for these games, you're not asking someone to buy one console for one game. You're asking that person to buy one console to buy multiple games or get into an ecosystem such as Game Pass. So like whenever I see people argue back and forth about this, I like people never want to give me the answer. Like, if you don't want Xbox to do exclusives, how do you broaden the Xbox user base when it comes to console sales? They can't tell me. They can't tell me. And for Xbox to, if Xbox sales grow significantly, let's say Xbox Series consoles sell like, we'll just say 90 million, right? Bloody good number. Like, do you know what that means? That means we're going to get more Japanese support. They're expanding into I can't speak. They're expanding into China, which means more Chinese games. We're going to see more Korean games. We're going to see more games come over because there's going to be more consoles out there. So, like, how is that a bad thing? you know, like Logan, you've seen the back and forth on social media. Like, what other than what is your take before we get into that? But what's your thought on these people that say that Xbox shouldn't do exclusives, but can't give you a reason as to how Xbox should grow without them?
Well, there are multiple ways to interpret that, in my opinion. One, I think some people are truly just uneducated on the idea and maybe just are new to gaming, so they are less informed and, just, are like, okay, this is what I've experienced and like this is how it should be, and yada yada yada. Or maybe they're just casuals, and so most of the stuff they play is everywhere anyway, so they're like, what's the big idea of everything everywhere? Like, there are those, and then there are the fantasy land kumbaya sycophants that are just like, um like, everybody else can have them but Xbox. The Xbox has to just give, 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 and never just have anything for itself at all. And then there are the people that are like list worry, and they're like, I only want exclusive so that I can say my box does this versus your box does that, which is not good for anybody. Like, it's just it's a cluster. There are, and then the worst of the worst is the disingenuous argument stuff where it's like, on one hand you talk this way, but then on the other part of your mouth you're saying this other stuff, and it's like, well, which is it? Do you want this or do you want that? You like, salt water and fresh water don't come from the same source. You don't have a toxin and an antidote in the same thing. Just all this stuff. It's madness. To me, like, my stance on it is again, I am not a rah 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 toxic fanboy, hyper aggressive, like, focused on it has to be this way because it has always been this way. Like, to me, it just is bottom line, just it makes sense. Plus, heck yeah, I'm invested. I've been with this platform like 20 years, 20 ish years, and I've had thousands upon thousands of dollars invested in this platform, thousands of hours invested in this platform, countless games, like experiences. I want it to survive above all else. And to me, the best path for survival is to man up, compete, make your stuff exclusive for the most part, have some stuff that's not. Or you can, heck, you could even call it exclusive and just go to Switch. Just
Yeah,
PlayStation is the
yeah,
one that I think is really the issue at the end of the day. To me, as someone who grew up with Nintendo as well, I have always viewed Nintendo and Xbox as different things. They both play games, yes. But to me, the Nintendo audience and the Xbox audience have some crossover, but they're also just very different. To me, Xbox and PlayStation have always been the back and forth, the rivalry, the Ford Chevy. It just it's like, why would you help them? Why? Why would you help the person trying to kill you? That makes no sense whatsoever. And like, I don't know. It just, to me, like, it's been this way a long time. It makes sense, and for the betterment of the brand and for the fans, because if Xbox just keeps giving away everything and doesn't, take a stand on some stuff, then it devalues the platform just completely, because I can't in good faith recommend a platform to somebody who doesn't already have a presence in this platform. If I honestly have to give an honest assessment to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm interested in getting into games. Which platform should I get?" Like, I would extol all the Xbox virtues of backwards compatibility, their community, all these things. But if it at the end of the day is about the games, I, I can't honestly tell somebody that Xbox would be the top choice when you, like, value proposition can get all their games and the other platforms' games on the other devices. It just doesn't financially, business wise, or um emotionally make sense to me. Like, I have brand allegiance, obviously, but and community ties, and I've been with it a long time. I love it. I'm in for the long haul with Xbox, but sinking ship or not. But to me, for the betterment of the brand, for it to survive another 20 years, let alone another 5 years, they really have to man up, compete, listen to the hardcore audience, and go forth and try to fight to win. Don't, none of this lay on the ground. It is what it is. Boo hoo hoo attitude that they've had for the last few years. It's been defeatist and sad.
Yep.
They, honestly, like, I'm not even trying to be rude. I'm just like, at some point you got to get yourself off the mat, dust yourself off, and go out there and give it an honest try. If you fail, you fail, but at least you went out with your boots on. Like, at least do that. Just try.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Like, my best friend that I play Call of Duty with, he's a PlayStation guy, right? Uh,
Yeah.
that might surprise people that my best friend is a PlayStation dude.
Hey, it happens. I have some good friends that are hardcore Sony people too. So
But I don't know if you've seen this, Logan, but there's a lot of people online that do not like me because I prefer Xbox, like, really bad. But, like, my best friend's a PlayStation dude, and he was telling me, like, like, he wants Xbox to do exclusives. Like, a PlayStation dude. Because he thinks, it'll make Sony better. Like, oh, breeding competition, all that stuff. And, like, he got me thinking because, like, he's been saving to play Final Fantasy Rebirth for when it comes out to Xbox so we can go through it at the same time. And
mhm.
he was like, "Do you realize if you bought a PlayStation, you could have went through these games already and still played things like Halo?" I was like,
Exactly.
"That's the exact point I've been trying to make." Like, yeah, if you want to play your Gears, don't wait 5 years for a Final Fantasy game to come over. And I glazed people listening know right now. I kind of glazed the hell out of Final Fantasy VII Remake when it came to Xbox this January. My God, that
It
game is
deserves it.
it deserves
It's
it.
okay.
Brilliant. But, like, I glazed the hell out of that game, but I waited 5 years to play it. you know, um, and, like, I wouldn't have had to do that if I was on a different platform that also gets Xbox games, and, like, in there lies the problem. I think selling Xboxes just a Game Pass box is a terrible idea. Like, Game Pass does bring people into the platform and all that for a fact. People have told me, but like, not the only and main reason. They have to see, they, let's be honest, they need to have some balls, that things play out. Show that, hey, if you sell a box, obviously, by the way, they really need to bring down the price of these consoles. I
Somehow.
don't care what external factors or any of that stuff is. They really need to price these consoles down a bit, because consoles shouldn't go up in price. I don't care if people say, oh, if because of the price of RAM. Not my problem. It's unrealistic for people to want to pay $600 to $900 for a 6-year-old console. you know, and they really need to like start putting out games where they, like, Xbox's marketing for first party games. Let's be honest, it's been non-existent, right? Like, Logan, when was the last time you saw first party advertising on TV for an Xbox game?
Honestly, this is gonna be embarrassing, but the last one I can remember was Gears 5.
Gears 5, and that came out when?
7 years ago?
7 years ago. Like, it's been a long time, and like, for Xbox to like, look, Xbox, they're gonna have the cheapest console for when Grand Theft Auto comes out, right? That's gonna do them some good, but at the same time, they need to market. Hey, what's the other reasons to pay for this console and play it, right? They need to come out and say, hey, you can play this game only on Xbox, and only on Xbox used to mean something. They used to slap that thing on the cover. It's just that every single time after these consoles came out, if Microsoft had an exclusive, there was always some external or manufactured reason as to why these games would be bad, right? Redfall launched, it wasn't an immersive sim, and people complained that it wasn't 60 FPS. We saw the backlash online. Microsoft eventually, stopped support for the game. Starfield was billed as the new third pillar RPG by Bethesda, and it was labeled controversial by IGN at launch for no reason, right? And then I'd say that when Xbox's first party consistency and quality went up is with Indiana Jones. When that game came out, we were like, oh, wow, this is a massive improvement on previous games. They coming out with regular games all the time, and the quality's up. But they never let that exclusive plan play out. And that's been my biggest problem for a while. So yeah, I do
They
think there's many
wussed
reasons.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there's many reasons to buy an Xbox, be it exclusives, not exclusives, backwards compatibility, Game Pass, the community, all these features. But we can't just sit here and say Microsoft needs to compete, but they shouldn't do exclusives. Like, that makes no sense. If we want Sony, like, I'll play this. I don't know if you saw the slogan. I've seen people this past week see the whole rumor about Xbox doing exclusives again, and they were against it, right? But PlayStation pulling their games away from PC is apparently a good move.
That has shadows of Tomb Raider energy, doesn't it,
Yeah,
Jamie?
and I've seen it this past week, so it's okay for Sony to remove games from PC, but it's not okay for Xbox to remove games from PlayStation. That's ridiculous. That's beyond ridiculous. And the
I mean,
fact
it's
that,
like Stockholm syndrome type stuff. It's crazy.
yeah, and look, Microsoft messaging over the years has been, let's be honest, not the best. They just need to come out at this summer showcase next week and just say, hey, this is the problem. This is what's going on with it. Because let's be honest, when you watch an Xbox showcase, you don't really want to see a PlayStation logo at the end of a trailer, right? A lot of people in the community have told me that deflated their hype while watching these shows. It's like, remove the other logos for trailers, right? It's not your job
It's
to.
like spitting in your drink and
Yeah,
giving it to you. Like, why would you do that?
yeah. It's not Microsoft's job to market their games on other platforms. Just don't do it. It's free. It costs them nothing. If it, like, PlayStation doesn't do logos, they don't get told off, but Xbox has to. You know, and imagine if Xbox has a first party lineup that actually looks good. It's exclusive, and people buy into the ecosystem. And I have seen the sentiment that Game Pass wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the PlayStation ports. That doesn't even make sense because Game Pass has been around since 2017?
Yeah, when I had 5 games or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
And like Game Pass has over 35 million subscribers. They don't need this is the hurtful truth for a lot of people. Xbox doesn't need PlayStation. They don't. Just like how PlayStation doesn't need Xbox, Nintendo doesn't need Xbox, Nintendo doesn't need PlayStation, right? It's okay for these companies to do their own thing and, actually compete. And, you know, some people have mentioned, by the way, like, I've been okay with this multi-platform stuff for years. I haven't. Like, there's a difference between whining on social media all the time about something and losing your mind. We've seen both different groups of people, right? I'm not gonna say something Microsoft does and I dislike what they do, and I'm not just gonna talk about it all the time, right? Because that's boring, right?
It's
My stance on it is
unhealthy
I've
too.
never agreed with it.
It just develops a mindset that will drive you nuts.
Yeah. And like, look, we saw this when Xbox announced the 4 games thing, right? We saw full on mental breakdowns on social media.
It was absolute Arkham madness online. Like, if y'all don't remember that, well, frankly, that's probably for the
Yeah.
best because it was not a good time. We'll just put it that way. It was like if 2013 was the oh my gosh, what an expletive cluster cluck that was, and so dumb. This was we are going to pour like LSD acid in this and just like throw it up everywhere, and it's just obscene chaos, and everybody is losing their mind, tripping balls on stuff. It was like that. It was just absolute anarchy, craziness, rumors spreading like wildfire, making up all kinds of BS. It was just nonstop darkness for a long time. Thankfully, we're in a much better place now.
Yeah.
But the fact that we had to even deal with that is part of the problem of why exclusives should come back. So you don't have to deal with that again.
Yeah. And like, let's be honest, like Microsoft having to come out and say every 2 weeks that they're making an next gen console because people were worried that they're not going to be able to play their future games because everyone thought that the Xbox ecosystem was just going to end. Yeah, like I think it's okay, right? And look, let's say hypothetically Microsoft does the exclusive thing, right? And let's say it doesn't pan out, right? We've seen the money they've made off PlayStation. Altogether, looks like a large sum of money. But if you look at the copies sold per title, it's not that good. It's not that the only game that did well was Forza Horizon. Forza Horizon's a big game, right? That's always going to do well. And plus, it's a racing game. Racing games are big. And like you have a remake of Gears of War with Gears of War Reloaded, and that's a remaster of a remake of a 2006 game. Like the fact that just didn't move the needle at all. I don't see people getting excited to buy into Xbox just so they can play games on the console they've already got. That doesn't make sense. That's a weird mentality. Xbox needs to grow. And look, if people want to hear my composure differences as to what I used to be like, when Mass Effect Andromeda didn't have its gameplay reveal when it was rumored to back in like 2014, 15, I've got a YouTube video on this channel where I lose my marbles. Right? I'm not composed whatsoever. I lose composure, and I'm saying things on the channel that I normally wouldn't say. I'll just put it that way. But now I do have composure. I know how to actually act online. Some people don't, so that's why when Xbox did the whole multi-platform thing, some people lost their minds, and rather than talk like adults, they just lost it. But that's
It
also
got
why
darkly personal too.
Oh yeah. A lot of people went really personal with it as well. Like there's people I used to talk to on social media every single day that haven't spoken to me since. Like Microsoft makes a move, a business move, and I people ignore me for years. Um, it was bad, but like if you even look at like the Xbox executives, Xbox staff, you have to notice like over the past 2 months, 2+ months, like they talking on social media again. They talking to fans, the feedback, they posting memes again. They're getting active in the community, and it feels like I don't know, it just feels right. That there's this new energy with the new leadership, and I completely get people being skeptical about Asha Sharma's leadership because she is new, she is from AI
Mhm.
and all that stuff. But then again, I always use the Reggie Fils-Aimé statement, or like past. He was from Pizza Hut, and he put Nintendo through arguably their most profitable generation ever. Uh, so like I think people are okay to be skeptical, but so far 2 months we have all these different changes. We have player voice, which they clearly paying attention to. Xbox. They already changed something in the Xbox player feedback, and even though it is a small thing, such as changing time played from Xbox from days to hours, which I actually like that move. Um, Even though it's a small change, they did it fairly quickly. They clearly paying attention to this website. So make your voice be heard. If you want something changing, vote it up, like I've said before. And also, like I've said before, don't make new topics about the same thing that's already listed. I've seen that so many times. Just vote up what you want. But it's good to see that they're paying attention to it. Logan, have you got anything else to say on this topic before I move on?
Oh, yeah, a few things. Just that I'm proud of the community that exclusivity, backwards compatibility, and removing paywall from multiplayer are the top three. Those are all excellent choices that should be addressed 100%. I'm all for those. I love the idea of legacy achievements for OG titles. I have mentioned it a million times, but Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Jade Empire, Crimson Skies, Ninja Gaiden Black, stuff like that, it just seemed perfect and would not be that hard to come up with achievements for. Light side, dark side, companions, you know, complete the quest, yada yada. It ain't that hard, pal. But if there's technical reasons that they can't, for whatever reason, okay, it would just be really cool if they could. And then you mentioned it earlier in your little WWE spiel, but we, back in the day when you could rip CDs on the 360 and the OG, like I used to play Halo multiplayer with all kinds of music in the background. And even play through games, with the music, my own scores and stuff. And play through it while I'm on the the home theme and stuff like that. Like, bring that back. Like, I don't even know what you would call it anymore, but I guess just upload, because you say burn a CD and then a modern kid will look at you like you're a crazy
Yeah,
person. Like,
yeah.
you're talking about taking a lighter to a disc. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not what burning a disc means. It means a friend of yours makes a playlist for you and they download it onto a disc for you. That was called burning, and I was there. I remember the lore when it was written. And yeah, just that would be a small thing, but honestly, that would be a big win for Xbox if they could bring back something as simple as letting us upload our music again and use it on theme and for background music in games. Just it's a small thing, but it would be a big win.
Yeah, I think burning CDs would be cool again. I don't know if you could just patch that in though. That's the problem. Um,
Yeah, that's a good point. That'd be a question for Jason Ronald or somebody of his caliber.
yeah, I mean, and bear in mind, it's been a long time since I got a CD. I think the last CD I got was I don't know. I remember it was the Iron Man 2 soundtrack.
Yeah, I still get them on time to time on sale, like a garage sale or like a vintage store or something, and upload them to my computer and then, to my phone or whatever. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It's a small thing, but it was cool.
Yeah, I used to use all those features back then. By the way, so like, can you remember Windows Media Center?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I used to burn my DVDs and stream them to my 360. Like at the
Yeah,
time.
that's another thing is I've seen this as a suggestion is bring back the ability to buy shows and movies on Xbox again.
Oh
Like
yeah,
again, not a huge deal, but it was nice and convenient. I could, hey, this movie's on sale. I've been interested in it. I could use some rewards points and buy a film to watch. Like it was just nice to have.
yeah. Do you know the funny thing about the whole Xbox movie marketplace is that I tend to have my digital movies on Apple, um,
Hmm.
and it never once occurred to me, because my Xbox is like my entertainment hub. I watch my food, my movies, my TV shows, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays, like every entertainment aspect I use my Xbox for, and it never once occurred to me, since I'm on this box all the time, wouldn't it make more sense for me to buy films on it? It never once occurred to me, um, and now I have Apple Movies, but I think there's so much they could bring back. People joked around saying that I'm going to be the one person that votes for 1 versus 100. I might
Yeah,
make that.
I'd take it.
I was a huge fan of 1 versus 100. Um, that was super fun because I think in the UK it was I think it was 8 p.m. it would start and it would end at like 10 p.m. But it was always super fun. And I know people want avatars to come back. The 360 avatars were king. The ones we got last generation were nightmare material.
Oh yeah, they were nowhere near as good.
Those were
No.
so bad. Because the 360 stuff, you had so many different options when it comes to like accessories and clothing and stuff, and then you'd get rewards from playing certain games. Like I think I had like Tron Legacy outfits for just getting like Tron Evolution and the Alan Wake stuff. You play Alan Wake, you get these rewards. Like that was actually really good. Man, I'm being all nostalgic. I missed the 2010 era of Xbox, when we were getting all that stuff. And then there was the Xbox 360 Netflix parties.
Those are so cool. I have a lot of nostalgia for those.
Yeah,
That would be cool to bring back.
yeah. By the way, that would have been amazing when we are all stuck in the house.
Yeah, hello, pandemic. We're
Yeah,
stuck at home watching movies. Let us chill with our friends.
yeah. But hey, I mean, look, I know everyone's going to vote for something different, but yeah, exclusives being so high, it says a lot. But I don't think people should choose, do you want games exclusives or day one and Game Pass? That is a weird made up scenario that doesn't even make sense. A lot of people subscribe to Game Pass because of the exclusives of the first party day one stuff. So, like, making them exclusive, that wouldn't make it so they have to sell them and not put them in the service. Like, look at Ubisoft. Ubisoft puts their games day one in their service, the premium one, and EA does the same thing on PC. So like, it's not just like, ooh, Game Pass bad, day one games bad. It's just it's an industry thing at this point. The only companies that don't do get day one first party stuff is Nintendo and Sony. All these other companies do day one games. So hey, we'll see what happens. But hey, everyone in chat has been amazing. Logan's been great talking with you once again. And this week, we haven't had anyone acting up in chat. Normally, we have like one floater. I'll call them floaters today for some reason. Just arguing with everyone, which is nice. But anyway, everyone in chat's been amazing. We'll be back for a new episode of All Things Xbox podcast next week. Same time, same Tuesday as normal. Now, considering this weekend's been a bit funny with the timing of stuff, and again, I may have broken my foot. Don't know how. By the way, Logan, how long does it take for a broken bone to heal?
Uh, that's a good question. It depends on the injury, the location. Um, like, for example, is it a compound fracture? Is it a hairline fracture? Is it a minor thing? How much swelling is there? Is it blood flow to the area? It depends. But like I broke my arm in 7th grade or 6th grade, yeah. And I had to have a cast for a couple weeks or 2 to 4 weeks. I can't remember how long. But then, eventually it healed, reset, and it was fine. My arm was super skinny for a while as I had to regain strength in that arm, but I was good to go afterwards. For a foot, it's a little tougher, especially since you've been putting weight on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, most likely is they would give you a boot. You'd have crutches for a little bit.
Yeah, I just picture myself with that, that episode of The Simpsons when he has the huge boot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the reason I asked this, but like I was saying before we went live, I've dislocated fingers. I'm pretty sure I've dislocated my arm, which was nothing. I've split my head open, which I don't know if I can talk about that story on this channel. Um, what else have I done? I split my chin open when I was a little, but like I've never broken a bone, and I've always thought I'm invincible. Clearly not, because I was trying to walk this thing off. Let me tell you, I don't think you can. But hey, hopefully I'll know by next Tuesday, and I'm probably gonna go to the hospital tomorrow. But anyway, everyone in chat's been amazing. Same time next week, and yeah, hopefully I'll have a video out by Sunday if I can. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we'll see everyone. Hope everyone has a great day. We're out, everybody.